Hello! Today we will have a look at The Doomed Prince, which is one of my favorites. It is a story from ancient Egypt from around the 18th or 19th dynasty. So I guess let's get started, shall we? Once upon a time there lived a king with just one wish. He wanted a son. So he prayed to the gods and they, at last, decided to let him have one. So that night they did the good old baby making, and 9 months later a baby was born. The 7 Hathors came down to decide the baby's fate. But as the title of the story suggests, the news were not the best. He will die either from a dog or a snake or a crocodile. Because only one of these would be too little. Let's give him some choices on how to die, am I right? Never mind. The king was terrified because he didn't want to lose his son. So, as any sensible person would do, he had a house built in the desert with all the stuff and furniture and snacks the young prince would desire, as he would never be allowed to venture outside. So, a baby grew into a young boy, and while he was sitting on top of his desert house, he saw a man walk by, together with a greyhound. The boy was intrigued and immediately asked his attendant what was that four-legged creature, shaped as a friend. After gaining the knowledge about dogs, the young prince demanded one. And even though the king knew one might kill him, he couldn't say no to his little baby boy, and so the prince gained a puppy. But even a dog can't entertain you forever, and when the boy grew into a man, he told his father that he has had enough. He knows of his fate, and he desired to live free and as he wished, before the gods came and took him. And his father, who couldn't say no, again, agreed and gave him a chariot and weapons and everything he needed for the journey. At last, he just told the young prince, "Go wherever you wish," and the prince did just that. So the prince and his greyhound headed to the eastern shore of the river and went north, where his heart led him. At last, he arrived to the land of Naharan, or the kingdom of Mitanni, of the upper Euphrates River. The prince of Naharan had only one child, and to our prince's luck, it was a beautiful and a smart daughter. But because the dads in this story kind of like to build defenses around their kids, she resided in a stone tower whose window was 70 cubits from the ground. The prince told the suitors for his daughter's hand that whoever jumps to that window, he will give them his daughter for marriage. When our hero arrived, he saw the bunch jumping up and down to reach the windows. When the guys noticed him, they made him feel most welcome and gave him everything he needed after a long journey. And at last, they told him what the Prince of Naharan told them. Our prince was eager to try, but his feet were hurt from the long journey, so he had to wait. He also didn't want to tell the others of his royal status, so he made up a story that he was the son of a charioteer that ran away from home. That gave him some sympathy points from the others. Meanwhile in the tower, the princess had her eyes on the pretty newcomer. And when his feet were healed, he joined the bunch jumping up and down under the window, but with one mighty leap, he jumped right up into the room where the princess was, who was so happy she kissed him and hugged him close. The attendants of the Prince of Naharan rushed to tell him that a husband for his daughter has been found. But he wasn't very happy when he found out that his daughter has been won by a lowly Egyptian charioteer. He wanted him gone and expelled from his kingdom immediately. But his daughter didn't want that, of course, so she swore by the gods that if he leaves, she won't drink nor eat and die. So her dad was like, okay, just kill him and, get it over with. But the daughter intervened again, saying that if he dies, she dies. Her dad loved her a lot, so at last he gave up and summoned the couple. And even though he didn't want to say it, he liked the Egyptian as he seemed to have a natural dignity around him. But when the prince asked about his story, our hero played dumb and repeated the story he made up about being a charioteer's son. But even through that, the Prince of Naharan gave them their blessing and a house, fields, and all that good stuff. In their new home, the prince told his wife the truth and also that he was destined to be killed by either a dog, snake, or a crocodile. The princess was shocked and wanted his greyhound to be killed immediately. But the prince stopped her. He raised him from a puppy. This good boy would never kill him. Just look at his little paws and stuff. His wife still was not convinced, but she let the dog live, watching her husband closely. I mean, she did not even allow him to leave the house alone. Unknown to both of them, the crocodile that was fated to kill him followed him the whole way from Egypt and was now lurking in the nearby lake. But, to the lack of our hero, the lake was also a home of a strong water spirit, who didn't allow the crocodile to leave, and they battled every day. The next day was a feast day, and the prince partied so hard he fell asleep as soon as his head touched the headrest. But his wife was alert. She filled one bowl with wine and the other with beer as she watched over her sleeping husband. And of course, a snake showed up, with the intention to kill the prince and fulfill his fate. But instead of that, he chose to drink from both of the bowls and became drunk. The princess didn't wait for anything and chopped the snake in pieces with an axe. When the prince woke up, she showed him the dead body and told him that his god delivered him from one of his fates, and hopefully, soon he will deliver him from the rest and he will be safe at last. So the prince praised Ra for days after that. A few days later, the prince went for a stroll around his estate and took his dog with him. His wife stayed at home, so he was alone when the greyhound spoke, and he said, "I am your fate," and chased after the prince. He ran from the growling dog that he loved, jumping into the water of the lake, where not even a second later a crocodile seized him by his powerful jaws. "I am your fate," the crocodile spoke, "but also, I have been tormented by this water spirit every day, and I am ready to strike a bargain with you. I will let you go, but you must help me kill him." And on the dawn of the next day, the water spirit returned. And that's where the story ends. Even in ancient Egypt, they knew how to end on a cliffhanger. Basically what happened, the only papyrus we found with this story is damaged and we do not know the ending. But maybe one day we will be lucky enough and find another papyrus with the whole story transcribed. I mean, at least I hope so. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, I would be really happy if you liked or subscribed. And I guess I'll see you next time. Bye bye.